Hey, it's Ramsey Dewey over here in Shanghai, China. Welcome to another edition of Q&A with the Coach. Today we have a question from, who is it, Action TV, yes, who says, please do a video on developing a fighter's chin. Ooh, the C word. I've actually made a few videos addressing this point. Now that's jargon. When people say he's got a chin on him, he's got a good chin, he's got a bad chin, he's got a glass chin, etc., they're not actually talking about the chin, the jaw, the literal actual chin on somebody. They are referring to a fighter's ability to take punishment and remain standing. And that actually has nothing to do with your chin, just in case you were wondering. Some of you are. Some people have done some really, really stupid things, thinking that it would give them a tougher chin. When people are talking about the chin, they're really talking about cumulative brain damage. Yep, I said it. Cumulative brain damage. Have you ever seen a fighter who was one of those high-risk, high-reward type of fighters? Let's say Chuck Liddell. Chuck Liddell is a great example. He knocked out a bunch of guys. He took a lot of risks. He took some heavy hits. And later on in his career, he got knocked out by Rashad Evans. And that shocked a lot of people because it was usually Chuck Liddell doing the knocking out, not the one getting knocked out. And suddenly people started saying, he's got no chin. And after that, he just didn't perform the same way in the UFC. And it was shocking to some people. It was revelatory to some people. After all of those years of cumulative damage, his threshold for damage was lower than it used to be. That's kind of how it works. If somebody has a good chin, that just means they haven't taken a great deal of damage yet. If you're brand new, assuming you actually know how to fight, assuming you are physically tough, and you have not taken a great deal of shots to your head, you haven't had any concussions or anything like that, by default, you already have a good chin. That means an undamaged brain. But if technically you are a great fighter, but you have a lot of cumulative brain damage you have acquired over years and years and years of taking heavy shots to the head, getting your brain rocked around and throttled, and sustaining concussion after concussion, you will have a poor chin, a glass chin, etc. Somebody could sneeze on you, and that would just knock you down. Figuratively speaking, of course. And again, it has nothing to do with your chin. It's the condition of your brain. So you're asking me, essentially, how do I get a better conditioned brain? Well, you don't. You only get one. And this is the sad and sobering truth about combat sports. You cannot make your brain physically tougher. There are some mutants out there who have thicker than average skulls. There's this guy, I saw a mini documentary about him. He was a professional wrestler and some type of stuntman. He would do this thing, this performance art type of exhibit where he would nail nails into wood using his head. And he didn't know he was a mutant with a thicker than average skull. He just knew he could take heavy hits and it didn't bother him that much. And he could hit hard things with his head and it didn't seem to hurt him. He went and got an x-ray, got some studies done on him, and it turned out the dude was a straight up mutant. Like an X-Man, just with a lower level of powers than shooting lasers out of his eyes or an insane healing factor like Wolverine. He had a thicker than average skull. And so he was able to take heavier hits to the head with less damage. Chimpanzees and other greater apes are similar to this in the fact that they have a much much thicker, more durable skull than humans, and so they are able to fall out of a tree, land on their head, and walk away without much ado about it. Not us, though. Not us. So if you have been knocked out, like knocked unconscious, concussed a few times, you're probably going to hear people say, oh, he's one of those chinny fighters. Oh, he's got a glass chin. Oh, he doesn't have a chin. Things like that. Again, it's such a stupid piece of jargon because it has no bearing on reality at all whatsoever. And a lot of people ask me these questions about, should I do neck exercises to make me harder to knock out? As if having a really strong neck is going to have some massive effect on the brain. Now, obviously, if you are so weak in your neck that you are physically unable to support your head up on your shoulders, that's a problem. But it is the way you carry yourself, it is your fight posture that is going to matter so much more than neck strength. Neck strength is super important for grappling. Super important for grappling, not as important for striking. And that might surprise a lot of you who've seen fighters like, say, Mike Tyson, who had a thick, strong-looking neck. And I'm sure that helped him out. But the way you carry yourself, the way you hold your fighter's posture, will determine whether or not your neck gets snapped back much more than, how thick the muscles are in your neck. And there's also a limit to how thick your neck is going to get anyway. Now, if you're getting punched in the neck, on the other hand, that's a different thing. If you have more, did you know you can get punched in the neck? It happens. Happens all the time, man. But there's this idea, this want, this need to want to be able to upgrade our systems to the point where we are invulnerable. And where do these desires come from? They stem from fear, of course. Fear of our own weaknesses and shortcomings and our own mortality. The idea that if somebody hits you hard enough and your brain bounces back and forth, it's an off switch, essentially. And that's frightening, and we don't like being frightened, right? And so we come up with these myths about the chin being this magic off button. Why do we hit people in the chin? Why do we throw a left hook, boom, to the side of the jaw? Well, I'll tell you. Because the jaw is a lever. A lever is the most distal point of an object to which we apply force in order to make it move. Give me a long enough lever, I can move the world, said Archimedes. Right? Get a big long lever and a heavy, heavy weight on the other end that you ordinarily couldn't lift or move, and with the help of that lever you can lift it and move it easily. Now the head isn't exactly a stick like most levers are, but this is the most distal point. So we hit that hard, boom. What happens? It moves. It twists, boom. And when it moves violently, boom. Obviously it's going to do some damage to this area, but also suddenly this moves too. Boom, boom, boom. This brain floating around in a sack of fluid bounces off the skull from one side to the other. Boom, boom, bruising, concussing, lighting up all of these electrical signals. On, off switches, boom, 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 boom. And that's where the magic off button idea comes, because the body essentially shuts down as a form of, at least temporarily shuts down in most cases, as a form of self-preservation. So people have done some crazy things, chewing on wood, thinking if I chew on this wood, it'll make my jaw muscle stronger. So when I get punched in the face, I'll be just fine. It'll bounce right off of me like a bullet off of Superman. No, it won't. No, it won't. Not by the hairs of my chinny chin, my friends. You can huff, you can puff, you can blow all you want, but your chin ain't getting stronger, my friends. Your chin is not going to become bulletproof. It's not how it works. It's your brain, not your chin. Thanks for watching. Now get out there and train.